Well, there are a lot of people who, get caught urinating at Mardi Gras who are on it. We're not talking about them. Well, that is who you're talking about. If you are caught by the state police some places in Texas, it may be 100 miles to a gas station. And every one of us is guilty of the crime of being a human and pulling over, walking over to the barbed wire fence, getting behind a bush and urinating. Nope, that is a sex crime. The majority is made up of those. People urinating, people, out in the middle of nowhere, I see it in the news all the time. On deserted highways, cop pulls up, I saw him behind that bush, they go over and see the urine, they get you to admit, sex offender, because you're an animal to be put in the system. His boss is probably raping a kid at some government dungeon while he's putting you in the squad car. They've got some 2-year-old baby they're raping to death, okay? I mean, that's who these people are, and it's a big joke to them to then grab you and take you away for what they do. And then, of course, the other big percentage of them are 18-year-old guys who have a 16-year-old girlfriend, or an 18-year-old girl who's got a 17-year-old boyfriend. That's who they go after. The hardcore pedophiles run everything. And so they run the Catholic Church, they run the major corporations, they run Bohemian Grove, they run it all, and your kids are nothing but fresh meat for them.
So that was Alex Jones' take on it, and I agree with a lot of points that he made there. Whether you like the character of Alex Jones or not, I don't care, because I don't care about him, I just care about the point. And the point was driven home pretty quickly when he covered that. And he talks about DynCorp, and that seems to come up a lot. It seems like DynCorp is at the center of everything. And it seems like child slavery and sex slavery is at the center of their business. So that's kind of twisted and sick. But I think I've covered all kinds of areas of this. But now I want to get into, just briefly, the part where some of these children are being taken for satanic rituals, I believe. I know it might not be the most popular view, but I think a lot of children go missing because they're supposed to be used as sacrifices to Satan and Luciferian type of religions that are out there. And a lot of people go to parks and go missing, and you hear all kinds of horrible stories about all kinds of people that go missing. And I think that a lot of these people end up mixed up in Hollywood or whatever, and they end up in these gay, Hollywood directors wanting to have sex with them and forcing them to do things in mansions, like I talked about on my last episode. And also they end up in situations where they're being used one way or another. Even satanic ritual abuse, where the person is basically abused into having mind control almost. That's a deep subject, but I'm not going to get into all of it. But it's just abuse in general. And then it turns into these people end up being taken and being used for sacrifices, like I said, to Lucifer. And I even kind of wonder if Bohemian Grove, look that up on the internet if you don't know what that is. It's basically a place for all the presidents and all that elites go once a year in the woods and worship a giant owl named Moloch, and they do a supposed mock sacrifice. Well, I think that mock sacrifice might be a real sacrifice, but we're not allowed to get in there to see. So, if a bunch of elites are getting together to worship a giant owl, Moloch, which they talk about in the Bible, you got to understand that that's a cult. That's not normal, okay? Why can't they just be like normal people and not want to get together in secret groups in the middle of the woods with fires and all this stuff? That's a little strange, don't you think? And this is where the elites go. This is the people at the top. Whether you like it or not, that's what they do. This is not me that made this up. You can look it up. You get to see people actually. Well, Alex Jones actually snuck into one. He actually has a video of the thing. But you can even listen to Richard Nixon talk about it. He says some pretty nasty things about it, so I'm not going to say what he said. But it's pretty amazing. And I believe that these people are being taken as sacrifices to the devil, basically. Because the more innocents that die, the more powers they're granted. If you notice, psychopaths always end up in high-ranking positions in leadership. It's because they're willing to sacrifice troops overseas or whatever to basically gain more foothold on the earth or places in the world or power over oil or whatever. It's just they're always willing to sacrifice more of us regular people to get a hold of more power. And so I think that some of these people, I think that, unfortunately, I hate to say this, but I think that they're molested sexually or whatever, and then they're just killed. And they're sacrificed to Satan in a lot of these situations. Not all, but I have a feeling that it's a good percentage. And Russ Dizdar, you might want to look up Russ Dizdar and listen to some of his stories. He is a guy who knows about this stuff. And there's also a video out there of a cult-like group at CERN at night by their idol statue, I think it's of Shiva, making a sacrifice of this young lady. I don't know if it's real or not. It looks real, but then again, the guy who's filming it, he's an American, it sounds like, and he literally hides away or whatever and basically runs, and the camera's all jiggly and you don't really actually see anything, but it does look like that they sacrificed this woman who probably, if it is real, she's on mind control clearly because she's doing this. She's actually there, it looks like she's willingly doing this, making herself a sacrifice. So it's really interesting. And the video is pretty shocking if you watch it, because it does look real. But then again, who knows? Nowadays, you can't really even believe what you see because of things can be faked. I mean, like these beheadings that you see, the ISIS beheadings, some of those can be pretty fake, or they cut out before you actually see the beheading, which is not something you want to see. But, you have to actually see it for yourself to actually believe these things, because the media will lie to you all day long. So anyway, I'm just saying that a lot of people, I think, are being taken for human sacrifices. And certain times of the year, like Halloween is really kind of a satanic day anyway. It's really a pagan kind of holiday. I mean, how many people like to dress up as witches and go out and do all the things that God says not to do in the Bible on Halloween? It's not really a Christian holiday, but there's a lot of weird stuff that goes on, like occult things around that day, so that's their sacrifice days. I just think it's strange that some of these people disappear in parks and whatever, and they're either sold on the black market as slaves or sex slaves or whatever. And also there's another thing. They also are sold because of their organs. Human organs are sold on the black market as well. It's not a surprise considering Planned Parenthood is doing it, and they're caught on video doing this. So it wouldn't be surprising if there's a black market selling kidneys or whatever to the highest bidder. Because, that stuff happens over in, third world countries all the time. So it wouldn't surprise me if it doesn't happen, everywhere else in the world, considering that we're getting into a time that's really wicked, just like the Bible warns us about. So it's not like we haven't been warned by the Bible. I know a lot of people who don't want to listen to the Bible. They just look at that as, oh, that's just an old book, or the Bible's no different than the Quran, or whatever. Well, I'm sorry. The Bible is very different from the Quran, because the Bible says, do not kill. It says, love your brother. Pray for those who sin against you. Turn the other cheek. It says you should love your neighbor. I don't think you're loving your neighbor if you're shooting them, chopping their head off, raping their wife. That's not loving your neighbor. That's the complete opposite of that. And a lot of people say, oh, Christians are bad because, they really want to take over the world. And, all these wars are because of Christians. Well, if all the wars are because Christians, maybe you should read the Bible, because it doesn't say to commit war. It doesn't say to go kill people in other countries and do all these terrible things. Yes, the Old Testament talked about wars, and guess what? It was because the human bloodline was corrupted by fallen angels. DNA was corrupted. The DNA that God put here was corrupted. And those creatures were demons, basically, and they were being bred on the earth. They were mixing with animals and everything. There was all kinds of twisted stuff going on back then. But that's not today. Today we're not instructed, according to the Bible, to destroy and murder. Now, we can defend ourselves. We have that right. But we're not instructed to go out and take over the world so that Christ can come back. That's not anywhere biblically. That's not biblical at any way, in any shape or form. Christians are not here to take over the earth and force Christianity on people. Let's leave that up to Islam. Islam seems to be forcing their will on people. Christianity is to take care and love people and try to get them to know Jesus Christ. That doesn't mean forcefully at the barrel of a gun. You can't sell somebody a religion by forcing it on them. Because God gave you free will, and that's why bad things happen in this world. It's because of free will. Free will is what brought all this. But God's not going to take that away from you to force you to love Him. What father wants to force his kids to love him? Wouldn't he rather hear them say it themselves that they love Him? Well, anyway, I'm preaching too much now. I wasn't intending to go on and on and on about that. The human trafficking thing, though, I think I covered all the different aspects that I know of about it. I know I played some videos or audio from videos that are probably from 2012, 2014, but I didn't want to have a whole documentary and everything included in this and take no time to actually talk about it. So that's why I included some shorter things that really cover a wide variety of stuff really quickly. But anyway, that was pretty much the whole idea for human trafficking and all that stuff, and I'm glad I finally got through this topic. I think next week I'll probably do a show that compares the TV show Stranger Things with the realities of like remote viewing and the stuff, MK Ultra, the stuff that the government actually did do that is in that TV show or that Netflix show. And also, I want to do a show on the Denver airport and all the freaky stuff that goes on there. The place really looks like a Freemason vomited up Satan worship all over the place. Literally. But anyway, I think for now, that'll be the show. Thanks for listening. If you enjoy this show, please feel free to share it. You can find us on Spreaker, iTunes, and most podcatchers. And if you'd like to support the show, please leave a review on iTunes or Spreaker or wherever you find this show. And for more information on this show, go to the Fringianity Underground podcast Facebook group and like us. Images will be posted there for this show and others as well. Please check Spreaker or wherever you get this podcast every Sunday evening for new episodes. And thank you for listening.